Alright guys, it's time to make an awesome looking animation, so let's get started straight away. You're going to learn a bunch of stuff. We're going to be working in the graph editor, we're going to animate this telephone and make it look slick and professional. So the way we're going to do this, I'm going to press on 1 and the iPhone is already in the center of the position. I'm going to press Ctrl-Alt-0. Let me turn on my screencast keys. So now you should be able to see what I'm doing. So I've got my iPhone located right over here and I've got my camera. Now first we are going to animate this iPhone. That's the way that we're going to do it. So I'm going to bring this down first. I'm going to rotate it by 180 degrees, so now it's showing our side. We're going to bring this down right over here and maybe rotate it a little bit like this. I'm going to press I, bring it somewhere over here. I'm going to have it come slide into the screen from right over there and then it will go upwards. And perhaps we can do that within like 20 frames. So 20 frames, let's bring it upwards right over there. And we're also going to rotate it RZZ. So let's rotate it like this, press I. Let's see what that looks like. Now, very cool. Basically, we want the rotation to keep on happening for a little bit more time. So maybe to frame 55, I'm going to RCZ, RX, and make sure it is rotating just a little bit on some Y and X side as well. Something like this should probably do the trick. And now it's moving along fine. So let's see what this looks like. And it's moving. Then right over here, we actually want to do a quick animation again. So I'm going to rotate it. I'm going to, let's say, frame 80, which is another 25 frames, which is 1 second. RZZ, and I'm going to rotate it like this. R and X, R and Y, maybe bring it upwards like so, and show it to the people like this. Then it's rotating, it's showing once again what it looks like. Then we are going to rotate it some more. So RZZ, let's bring it like this, press I, and it's slowing down. Maybe that can be even slower, so 117. And then right over here, we want it to move downwards once again. Maybe it should go upwards first a little bit, or maybe we're just going to do that with the camera. Maybe we can do it with the camera. I'm going to bring this down and somewhere over here, have it be rotated just a little bit, like so, and press I. Let's see what it looks like. Very cool. And now this still looks like a beginner animation, but we're going to turn it into a professional animation using the graph editor. And I also believe that we can make this a little bit faster. It's going inwards. It should be going inwards just a little bit faster. So I'm going to bring this to frame 15 maybe, or 10. Let's do 10. Yeah, then it's coming in. Let's do 12, which is half a second. And then it's going to rotate around. It's practically falling silent here, but we're going to fix that. Then it turns around real quickly, so we can also reflect that with our keyframe. So from 55 to 80 is perhaps a bit too long. We're going to set it to maybe 65, like this, and then it will rotate around again, and I'm going to bring it to frame perhaps 90, and then it will move downwards, which can also be a bit quicker. Like this. All right, so now it's coming in, rotating around, and going down. Of course, this doesn't look exactly the way that we want it yet, but that's no problem because we're heading into the graph editor and I'm going to show you exactly how to make this a good render from beginning to end. So let's go to graph editor, and as you can see, it looks very complex, very overwhelming, but we just have to break it down into its simple components, and that's exactly what we are going to be doing right now. As a matter of fact, I'm going to start with the C location because we are moving it upwards and downwards, and that is going to be a great start. So I'm going to lock everything off. I'm going to open up the Z location, press A and dot, and right now we can see exactly what's going on. Of course, the C location from here on doesn't really change, and that's not a problem, but we do want this initial animation to be a whole lot faster. So I'm going to take this right handle, the right handle of this keyframe, and I'm going to bring this upwards, and of course it will look like this. It's going to be a bit faster, like so, and now it's also moving weirdly to the side, but that's not a problem. We can fix that later on. Of course, it's going to be remaining in air right over there, and then it will go down relatively quickly. And the way to fix that is actually by taking this handle and moving it downwards. But as you can see, we now also get this overshoot. Now let's watch what this looks like. And it's going up and then it's going down. Of course, that is not what we want. So I'm going to Control Z that, and I'm actually going to select both of these handles, and I will go and press on my right mouse button and go to handle type and set it to free, which means that now we can move this one freely from this one, and that's exactly what we want. I'm going to select this, I'm going to bring it down because it should go steeply downwards. Yes, like that. And maybe we can even make it faster by taking this handle and dragging it out to the left. Now, of course, the rotation is not correct now. It looks a little bit weird. And we're going to fix that, of course. But first, let's do the Z rotation, because it's rotating on the Z axis right over there and right over here as well. And we should actually speed that up. And I'm going to open it up. C Euler rotation right over there, A and dot. Well, the first one, it is moving upwards. It could be a bit faster, so I'm going to take this and bring it down. Quick rotation on the beginning right over there. Maybe it can be a little bit slower. And then we are rotating slowly. But this is not to my liking, because it's actually stopping the rotation right over here. So what we should do is take this keyframe and bring it down ever so slightly, pressing G and Y. And what will happen is that now it will continue to rotate very slowly. And of course, it's still falling short a little bit, so we can take this handle and move it downwards just a little bit. And I want this rotation then, our next rotation, to be very fast as well. And it's not fast at all right now, it's going pretty slow, and I do think that we can change that. I'm going to take this handle type to free, and now this one is freed from its oppression. We can bring it down and whoop, and it's going a whole lot faster. Maybe we can take this one as well and bring it to the side. And it's moving a bit quicker. So let's see what it looks like for now. Very cool, very cool. Now, let's do the other rotations as well. I do believe that the X rotation is a very important one, so I'm going to open that up. Let's go right over there and let's see what this looks like. Now here I don't really see any issues until we reach this part. If I move this around, you can actually see that it is rotating, but it's standing still right here. So we only get the C rotation left, but we want the X rotation to be continuing as well. So I'm going to take this one, and actually I believe that we can delete this keyframe. So I'm going to delete this keyframe, and that's a whole lot better. So we deleted the rotation of the X right over there. We are going to the Y Euler rotation, open it up. And right here it is standing still, but maybe we do want something to keep happening on that specific stage. So let's go ahead and move that handle. That's a bit too much. So maybe what we can do is take this last keyframe on the Y and actually bring it downwards just a little bit, simply to keep the continuation of our rotation. And I'm going to move this along with it. Let's see what it does. Yeah, pretty smooth. I do believe the X rotation is a little bit off though. So I'm going back into the X, and maybe it's actually the Z rotation. So let's open that one up. And let's bring this keyframe together with this one a little bit downwards. And then we're going to move this little handle upwards. There you go. Right over here, it can be moved just a little bit more to the side. So add an extra keyframe, take this keyframe and delete it. Then take this handle, bring it upwards. So let's do the same for the X location. I just open it up. Let's bring this downwards just a little bit. And now it's moving into its position a little bit better. And that already looks a bit smoother. But I do believe it's moving downwards a bit too slow. So I'm going to open up the C location again. Going to select it, press A, press dot. It is moving downwards, but it's a bit too slow. So I'm going to bring this to the side. And take this handle and make it a little bit less extreme. But it's sliding towards this side, and that's because it's moving on the X-axis, and we actually want that to happen a whole lot quicker. Close this off, let's go to the X location again, and right over here you can see why that's happening. It's because this curve right here is simply smoothing in a bit too much. And all we have to do is select this one, but once again, if we move it, it's going to move the X position to the right first, and then it will move it to the left. We don't want that to happen, so I'm going to right mouse click, handle type, and set it to free. Then I'm going to select this handle and bring it downwards in order to make it faster. Take this handle and bring it to the left to make it faster. There you go. Now, one thing I don't like is actually that it is being straightened out too much right now, which creates a very flat image. And luckily we can change everything we like. So on the Z Euler rotation, let's go ahead and see what it looks like. Basically what I want to have happen is have this entire keyframe move to the right side. Why? Well, because when it comes in now, we get a little bit more of that area of the lighting. It seems a bit more 3D now, and that is great, because then we don't have this flat image right here where the iPhone is just simply being projected like some 2D image. Let's take this one as well, bring it to the right, make it a little bit slower. Go over to the X Euler rotation as well. Let's take this and let's bring it upwards. So handle type free. Let's bring this upwards, and let's bring this upwards as well. And then we need to do the Y Euler rotation, and I really don't like that this one is kind of messing with my brain. Maybe what we can do is give it an overshoot. Yeah, I kind of like this. There you have it. That's a lot better. Let's take this. Let's make sure that it's more of a circle like this. Very cool. So this is our animation. And that looks pretty cool. But we also want to do some zoom ins in order to make it look even better. So we have to do some camera animations. We also have to do a lighting animation. And then finally the shot will be done. So I'm going over into the timeline. And I do believe that this one is fine for what it is right now. Now we need to do the camera. So let's go ahead and click on the camera first. Let's bring in a keyframe on frame 1. And maybe we want it to move inwards just a little bit while it's doing its rotation as well. So somewhere over here should be doing the trick. So I'm going to press G, Z, Z and have it zoom in just a little bit. See what it looks like. And then the phone is basically coming closer. Maybe we can bring it even closer in right here, but make it move a bit faster. And then right here to frame 100, we should maybe bring it outwards just a little bit. Cool, very nice. Now let's go over into the graph editor. Let's see if we can change anything that's worth changing. So on the Y frame we are moving. So I'm going to close everything off except for the Y location. Let's select it, let's open it up, A and dot. And maybe we want to move it inwards just a little bit quicker. So let's see what this does. Oh, that looks pretty cinematic. So it's moving in quite quickly, enlarging the phone pretty fast. Let's bring it down, let's make it a bit more subtle. And then it's kind of slowing in the middle here and it's moving outwards, but maybe we want that to happen later on. And maybe we do want the zoom in to continue right here, which is the case, but I'm going to bring it in just a little bit higher. But it should be faster. I'm going to take this, I'm even going to take this keyframe and move it to the left side to have it all happen just a little bit faster. Zooming in, let's take this, let's make sure it's more of a continuous motion. And now we are zooming in and zooming a little bit outwards. And that makes the whole animation look a bit better. We could have done this with the telephone as well, moving it on the Y-axis, but why would we complicate things if we can simply do zoom-ins with a camera? So let's do it like this, and it's zooming in, showing us, bringing it down. And I don't know about you guys, but this already looks very smooth, but there are numerous tricks that you can use to even further upgrade this animation. So what I'm going to do is I'm moving over here and adding a plane. I'm going to add this plane, I'm going to scale it up, RX 90, G and Y, and let's have a look at our telephone, it's right over there. I do believe that approximately this distance is going to be enough. I'm going to scale this up, and what I want to do now basically is fix our lighting, because we are going to make a lighting animation. This one's done, that one's done, so let's do the lighting. And the lighting is actually going to make this come to life, and there's two tricks that we're going to be using. First of all, we're going to add a spotlight to the background, which is going to cast some shadows, giving the scene more depth instead of occurring in some sort of flat space. We want to give it some more depth. And the other thing that we're going to do is add some lens reflections. Basically, it's going to reflect on the iPhone itself, making sure that we get this cool dynamic lighting that's going to add a little bit to the animation as well, intentionally. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a light, which is going to be a spotlight in this case, and I'm going to press RX 90 and have it face towards this wall. Now, we don't want it to be facing flatly, because then the shadow will be hidden right behind the telephone. So I'm going to press R and Z, and I will bring this downwards, R and X, and of course I'm going to set it to cycles because I want to know what I'm doing. I'm going to set it to GPU, and we have to increase the power of the light as well. So I'm going to increase it to 10,000 for now. And let's see what it looks like. Way too strong, actually. So I'm going to set it to 1000. And we have to decrease the spot size of this. So the spot size should be a whole lot lower, but we do want this shadow right over there. We can increase the radius because the light otherwise is going to be too harsh, but don't increase the radius too much. It should give us something that looks like this. And let's make sure that this one is a little bit closer. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to animate this light on the background moving out of the screen. And the way I'm going to do it is simply by taking the R and Z like this on frame 1. And we basically want this to start without lighting. So I'm going to set this to 0. I'm going to press on I, and 5 frames later, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 frames later, we are going to set this to 5000, have it be a quite bright light. And we can always change this if we don't like it. So maybe increase it just a little bit more to 7000. And now this is quite to my taste. So I'm going to press I. And we've got our lighting animation that is occurring right now, but it's not moving. So all we need to do is take this light, press I in the screen right here. And you can see that it's adding something in the graph editor. And then we're going to move it on frame, let's say the first 14 frames. It's going to move slightly towards that side and slightly upwards, but nothing crazy. Just something like that, very subtle movement to the side. And then we're going to move it outside of the screen. As soon as the iPhone is entering outside of the screen, that's when this one should already be removed. So I'm going to press R and Z, and I'm even going to move it with G right now. So I'm going to press on G, and I will move this outside of the screen, R and Z, press I. Now let's see what this looks like for now. Pretty cool lighting trick. And now it seems like there's a bit more dynamism. We have the shadows of the iPhone on the wall, which is going to create a bit more of a better effect if you ask me. So we're going to move it towards that side. Maybe I'm going to decrease the spot size overall, make it a smaller circle. Something like this should probably work out as well. Maybe a little bit bigger, something like 20 degrees should be fine. And if we click on blend and bring it upwards, it's going to soften the outer edges, which is actually what we want. And it's already moving out too quickly. So I'm going into the graph editor and it's moving a bit too quickly. So we should probably get the X location in this case, because it is moving on the X location outside of the screen. So let's have a look at this. It is moving already right over here, but we want that to happen a whole lot slower. So I'm going to take this handle and bring it to the right side. Now this line will occur for a longer period of time, which means that it's going to be slower moving outwards and then a bit faster near the end. And of course we can also drag this to the side because I do believe it's happening a bit too quick, like so. And it's already a bit too far, and it's because of the Z rotation. So I'm going to open up that one as well, A and dot, and let's see, it is already too far. It is already too far right here. So this one should be moved to the right side as well. So it's taking a little bit longer to reach its final position right over there. And that's exactly what we want. Now, what am I going to do? I'm going right over here, and I do believe that this power is a bit too much. So I'm going over to my power keyframe on timeline right over here, set it to 5000. Press I, and we've got our light coming in, we've got the iPhone coming in, and right here maybe it's a bit too bright. Let's have a look at that. If we decrease it, I do believe that something like this right over here is maybe a little bit better. So I'm going to set it to approximately 1000 watts on frame 38. And right over here it can be strong again, so 5000 should be fine. Press I. Very good. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add an HDRI. So right over here I'm going to add an HDRI. I'm using HDRI. You can also go over here, click on color and go to environment texture and get your HDRI right over there, but I'm using this free add-on. So create the world. I'm going to select Shanghai Bund because I think it gives a pretty good lighting out of this. Straight out of the box you get some cool purple colors and stuff like that, but of course it's way too strong, so I'm going to set it to 0.1, so we actually only get some of these reflections, but most of it is going to be invisible. This is what it looks like right now, and maybe we can even decrease it some more, 0.05, and have it be pretty dark out here. And I'm going to take this background and I'm going to give it a texture. So in the shader editor I will give it a new texture and I'm going to make it blue, but it should be a pretty dark blue. Something like this. So we actually get some darkness right over here, but we can still see some of those blue tones right over there. This animation is actually going to be the final animation. So let's have a look at this. The lighting is moving about. And now the only thing we need to do is add some lighting tricks. Because right over here, I do want to have a streak of light coming over the iPhone right when it is about to transition. So I'm going to add an area lamp, RX90, RZ, let's move it a bit, GZZ, and maybe make this thinner. So SXX, make it a lot thinner, go to the lighting properties and decrease the scale to approximately 1, maybe a little bit more. So like 1 degree, 1.3 degrees. And this is basically what it looks like. Now I only want this to work on the iPhone because we don't want this streak of light to happen on the background. So what I'm going to do, quite simply, is select this light, go over to the Object Properties tab, Shading, Light Linking, and then we need to place this iPhone into a collection. So basically what we're going to do is select it, select the empty last, M, New Collection, iPhone. I'm going to call it iPhone. Then click on our area lamp, this one, go over to Light Linking, press on New, take the collection and drag it into this little box. And now it should only work on this iPhone, which is exactly what we want. Select our area lamp, which is this one. I'm going to move it to the side a bit, press I, and then within a really low amount of frames, like 5 frames maybe, I'm going to move it over this iPhone, like this. And let's see what happens. We get a quick streak of light flashing over the iPhone right before it's about to transition. And then right over here, I also want to have a streak of light. So I'm simply going to duplicate this. I'm going to take those keyframes and I will bring it towards this side. And let's see what it will do for us. Because I want this reflection to happen right after. So somewhere over here. And right now it's not really doing anything. So we should probably increase the power of this light. There you have it. Shing, like that. So press I. Let's remove all keyframes, by the way. Press I, have it go over the iPhone real quickly. Like this. And maybe we should rotate it so it looks a little bit better. Press I. But I hope it adds a little bit of extra right over there. Whing. So that's basically how you set up this entire animation. Looks pretty cool. We've got a spotlight, we've got 2 light streaks going over the iPhone. Now the only thing left to do is actually to see whether the lighting at any point is correct. So right here what I'm noticing is a lack of background separation. So I'm going to take this very same area lamp, I'm going to duplicate it, delete the keyframes, and I'm going to press SXX and give it a little bit more of a wider frame, which will make the light softer. And then I will go right over here and light the iPhone at one of these edges in order to make sure that it actually looks a whole lot better. And let's see, we can increase the spread as well. It should be 111 or something, GZZ. Let's see what this light does for us. Not too much. So I'm actually going to bring it behind the screen and have it be pointed at our edge right over there. Something like this edge light should be fine. So I'm going to decrease the power until we get something that we like. It should be very subtle. 130 is what I'm going to be using. Take this very same area lamp, bring it to the top. So Alt-R, make sure that it is on the top, like this. And we can maybe move this streak along. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to take this, I'm going to move it from here. So let's say right now, and have it move a little bit to the side, maybe rotate it a bit like this. Press I, and now we've got a light moving over the top as well. SX, SYY. I want to make sure that it's not too much. So we've got this light over here. Let's see if I turn it off. You see what it does? It's already a lot better. And now it's also moving along the side here, just a little bit to give it that extra edge. And this one is now in the wrong position because it's still shining on this screen, even though we don't need it there anymore. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the very first keyframe and duplicate it, bring it right on the top again, but a little bit faster. So right over here, we've got our light streak, and now this one is already on the top again. Now we've got some cool shines on our iPhone. The lighting is done correctly at any point in time. We've got this cool spotlight effect on the background, which also looks pretty interesting to me. And let's see, the animation is pretty smooth. We've got our light streaks going over it. And that's basically the end of the tutorial. So I hope you enjoyed this one. I hope you learned a lot about the product animations itself. We also went into the graph editor, and I hope you learned a thing or two right there and to how to think about making these animations. Of course, we can watch it another time. You can see it's coming in quite quickly. We rotated everything, made sure that everything is coming in right quickly. Then it's slowing down and it's moving quickly, and it's moving quickly outside of the screen. Now the reason why we are doing that is actually so we can transition into another shot with a very fast shot. Now as soon as you will watch other product animations, you will notice that oftentimes, especially with gadgets, things will move very quickly, slow down, and then move quickly outwards. Why? Because it's the simplest way to make a new transition to another shot. And that's the way that we are going to be doing it as well. So I hope you had a fun time, and I'll see you there.
I get the money and it's right on cue. Keep the duffel bag up inside my coupe. Hold a couple racks, tell them I love you. You wanna be a boss, do it like I do.